Hello once again, and welcome to another episode of Inside IUE Sports. I'm your host, Caleb Gillock. On today's episode, we're going to talk about volleyball, golf, and tennis. But first, on today's episode, we're going to talk with IU East volleyball player Morgan Steinbrenner. Morgan, thanks for joining me today.
Thanks for having me, Caleb.
Well, let's start off. Just how's the season going?
We've had our ups and downs. I feel like a lot of it's just we have a lot of freshmen again. But I think we're getting used to it now. We have really good chemistry on and off the court. This is like the first team in my 3 years that I feel comfortable with every single person on the team. So that makes it nice. And you can tell on the court when we have our games that we're just clicking. Everybody knows it and everybody can see it. On Saturday when we played St. Francis, I feel like every single person on our team was on, and it was just like exciting to see what we can produce.
Now, you said that this is like the first team in your 3 years here that you feel the most comfortable with. Why is that?
I think in the summer, as much as it sucks coming a month early, we get to have time where we just get to hang out with all the girls and get to know every single one. This year we did a big little program, so all of the returners got underclassmen to kind of take under their wing and just show them the ropes and just be like, hey, it's not that bad. Like, you get through it. We're all still here even when we don't want to be. So.
Right. So, what are some of the things that you think the team needs to work on right now at this point in the season?
I feel like our consistency is our biggest thing. A lot of games that we are losing, it's not because we don't have the skills or the tools to win them. It's just we aren't like putting the same product out on the court time and time again, and I'm sure you've seen that. Like, we've had games where we can dominate, and then we have games that we can't even get a pass up. Like, we're just like trying to find that happy medium right now. But I think Saturday was a good product to put out on the court, and it was a good time to have it because we have some big games coming up in conference, and if we want to do well, then those are the games that we need to do well on.
So in some of those games where you talk, it's not the same product out on the floor, is that just sort of a mental thing?
I don't even know. Like, it is so hard to – volleyball is such a game of momentum, and it's a game of mistakes. It's always the team that makes the less mistakes is usually the winner. And so it's really honestly, like, I don't even know how to explain it. Like, there's games when we're like, oh, yeah, we're going to go out there and dominate. And then we go out there and we're like, what is happening? Like, we literally, when Coach calls timeout, she'll be like, what are you guys doing out there? And everybody will be like, I don't even know what's happening right now. Like, it's just – we're girls, it happens, I guess. That's probably the best answer for it.
So how do you fix situations like that in games?
We really try to be like, me, Mal, and Yoder, we really try to be kind of obnoxious and loud and get people to latch on to the positives. And that way, when that happens, we don't really focus on what mistakes we're making and more of what the process is, and the process is winning and winning conference.
Think back to the first tournament of the season. That was Grace College. In what ways has the team improved since then?
I feel like we've improved tremendously. We've changed a lot. Even from we were running a 6-2 then to running a 5-1 now, and just how much we've grown in just such a short amount of time. It seems like forever ago, but then if you think about it, you're like, wow, that was only like a month and a half ago. The season just flies by, but we've grown so much as a team and as individuals. Like, freshmen are stepping up, feeling more comfortable in their positions. And Abby, I mean, I can't say enough about her. She didn't even set all throughout high school, and she's like leading the conference in assists right now. So I think that is truly amazing.
All right, well, let's look back at some of the recent games. The first one, Marian University, was a 3-2 loss. Tell us about that game.
That was one of those games. Well, I think that was the worst game because that was like the most inconsistency we had. We came out the first set, dominated. Right. Everything was clicking. I think we hit like a 400 that set. The next set, again, we were doing well, and then we just let them in at the end, and so then they won. The third set, we came back, we dominated again. And then the fourth set, I think we lost like 25-11. Yeah. Yeah. It's like that's the inconsistency that everybody's talking about. And then like the fifth set we had it, and then we just couldn't finish. And I think that's one of the big things is we're young, so we're not finishing games.
Well, a great weekend this past weekend on Saturday at home. The first one was a 3-0 Kayak Conference win over Midway. Tell us about that match.
Midway has grown so much. They can surprise a lot of teams. I feel like when I first came here, they were like a team that you kind of overlooked in conference, and now they're like so tall, and they are a team that can really surprise a lot of teams if they're not expecting it, and they did to us. We weren't really expecting it, and they came and they played really well against us and gave us some close games, and luckily we pulled them all out.
All right, then going into the St. Francis matchup, your team hasn't beat a team from the Crossroads League all season until that match. It was a 3-0 sweep. Tell us about that one.
I think, honestly, playing Midway first kind of was like an eye-opener of, hey, like, we need to pick it up or we're not going to beat St. Francis. And I know, like, the Crossroads Conference is good, and we've lost Bethel, Marion, all of them. But I think that was that game that we were just like, this is what we can put out on a court, and it just, everything clicked. And I think we honestly needed to see it against Midway and how if we don't play our game, anybody can beat us kind of thing. So I think it was good, and it was just like everybody was on that game.
All right. Well, another big conference weekend coming up, all of the matches at home. The first one will be against Brescia. What do you know about them? What do you expect them to be like?
Brescia is just like Midway. They've struggled in the past, but I think they got a new coach and some good players in there. They've taken sets off teams. They've beat teams. They beat Rio, which we play tomorrow. And I think that we just need to bring our best and not overlook them. That's basically what we got to do. We got to take care of one team at a time right now.
Then you also play West Virginia Tech, which you've never seen before. What have you heard about them?
I really haven't heard anything about them. I feel like they're probably going to be a Brescia Midway, just from the standings. I mean, I look at the standings all the time. I'm a nerd and look at the stats. But I feel like they've not been. They're probably middle, lower of the pack. Again, we'll just have to take care of business. We can't. If we don't play our game, then any team can beat us. But if we play our game, then nobody can beat us.
All right. Well, anything else you'd like to add today before you go?
I don't think so. Just hopefully we can win out and win conference and go to nationals.
All right. Sounds like a plan. Thank you for joining me, Morgan. And we'll be right back with more Inside IUE Sports.
This is where a busy mom can work toward a bachelor's degree from a top national university during softball practice. It's where a service member can continue his college studies from anywhere in the world, and where you'll benefit from one of the country's most effectively delivered online programs.
Woohoo!
So, if you've ever wondered if a college education is really worth it, this is where you'll see that it is. This is Indiana University East Online.
And welcome back to Inside IUE Sports. It's time to talk about men's golf, and joining me to do so is IU East golfer Franklin Christ. Franklin, thanks for joining me.
Absolutely, man. Glad to be here.
Well, let's just go ahead and start getting into it. How's the season going, or how did it go for you as an individual?
Well, myself personally, it kind of started off slow. We had our first tournament of the year out the Elks here. Kind of had a rough start, didn't hit the ball real solid. And I thought, I came into the year really having a lot of high expectations for myself, and didn't really meet those in the first tournament. So I felt like it drove me to play better in the next couple tournaments, which I ended up doing so.
So how did the team do overall?
Well, we're very young. I'm our only returner from last year. Had a guy end up transferring out. Had another one. He ended up not playing this year, and then had a couple 3-4 graduate. So it's been a very, very big learning experience for a lot of these guys. They come in, they don't hit the ball very far. We're playing some longer courses, more difficult. So it's been a very big learning process for them in terms of from the transition to high school to college golf. So I think that's going to be our biggest obstacle going into the spring. I think they've done a good job, overcoming some of that stuff. But the fall has been a very good prep for the spring.
Now, how were you able to use your experience and help some of these younger players?
Very much so. Very much so. I felt like when I started, I wish there would have been somebody with me, taking me under my wing, and I felt like I've done a fairly good job with those guys as well, doing that. You know, I think course management's one of the biggest things you've got to learn when you get to college. You know, not gunning at every pin, because you know you're not going to be able to hit 4-iron into a 15-mile-an-hour breeze. You know, at every pin. So I think course management's been one of the biggest things that I've had to, you know, kind of teach these guys, if you will. And I think they kind of took a while for them to learn that at first, but I think they're starting to get the hang of it. So
how did they progress from the beginning of the season to the end?
One of the things that I've seen the guys learn pretty quickly is around the greens. Now, you know, a lot of times, you know, they're playing in these high school tournaments, they're playing these short, you know, flat courses where, you know, you don't have to be able to really get the ball up and down. And once you get to college, you play these courses, you got these undulations, and you know, you got to get a little creative and use your imagination a little bit around the greens. So that's probably the biggest thing that I think these guys have had to learn here.
All right, well, as we've talked a couple times, the fall season's now over. Let's talk about the most recent meets. The first one being the KIEC preview. The team placed 6th out of 9th both days at that. How did that go?
We ended up finishing, I think, about where I thought we were going to be. You know, we're talented. We got a lot of potential. But you know, going down there, the weather was absolutely terrible the first day. I mean, 50-degree weather, 30-mile-an-hour winds. I mean, it's just raining sideways. And you know, these kids, they come out there and they don't want to be there. And you know, so it's tough to go out there and play good golf when you got that stuff going on. You got that mindset. But yeah, I think we ended up lowering our scores for the second day, which was good. Even myself, I did as well. And you know, I feel very, very encouraged going into the spring from what I saw in the preview.
The last event of the season was at the Mount Vernon Nazarene University Invite.
Sure.
How did that one go?
Well, we had very good weather for that one, and actually I had a lot of high hopes for that tournament as well. Didn't really quite meet them as a team or myself individually, but you know, a lot of stuff we were able to take from that. You know, a lot of the guys, I feel. You know, I think I've talked about mentality in the past. You know, they kind of went in, and some of our guys, Lance Hackman, for instance, you know, they went in and haven't been hitting the ball very well here recently. And you know, it's tough to go out there and perform when you haven't been hitting the ball as well as you have been, or you know, you don't have much confidence in what you're doing. So you know, I think this off season will be good for us. You know, give us a chance to, you know, hit a lot of balls over the winter time. You know, just be able to put a lot of good quality work in, and so spring is just around the corner.
In preparation for the spring season, what are some of the things that you guys need to work on individually, but can make the team better as well?
You know, I think it's just you know, keeping what we have. You know, there's a place up in Muncie. It's a complex where you can go and hit balls inside. It's MD's. I don't know if you're familiar with it. Heated driving range inside, and you know, a lot of times we go up there. I know I'm from that neck of the woods, so in wintertime, you know, I go up there once a week, hit balls. You know, do stuff like that. But I think probably the biggest obstacle over the wintertime is, you know, keeping your skills with your short game, your putting, you know, because you're not out there, you're not reading greens and doing the same things that you're doing when you're actually playing. So that's probably the biggest obstacle, I'd say.
And how do you overcome that obstacle, you know, with not being able to work on the greens and everything during the winter?
You know, it's tough. It's very difficult. You know, a lot of times, you know, I grew up putting in my basement in the wintertime. You know, we had, you know, thin carpet downstairs, and you know, just sit down there and, you know, just constantly roll balls. And, you know, I think that's really the only thing that you can do. You know, we don't have the luxury of living down south. We don't have, we don't see snowless winters. And you know, for a long time, you know, we're going to be inside hitting balls, putting, doing stuff like that. So it's just a matter of continuing to practice. You know, constantly, you know, doing the things to get better, and you know, just constantly, you know, practicing, putting in the work.
Other than yourself, who do you expect some of the top golfers to be this spring?
You know, I really like Lance. He's got a lot of potential. Had some very good numbers coming out of high school, and I talked earlier about, you know, length being one of the big things that hurts a lot of these guys, and Lance doesn't hit the ball real far. So I feel, in the spring, that's really going to be difficult for a lot of our guys. It's going to be soft. Weather conditions aren't going to be good. Guys are going to be hitting the ball even shorter than they are in perfect conditions. But I feel like, like I said, our mentality has gotten better. Lance is one of the more mentally strong guys on our team.
Right.
And I know he hasn't performed like he wanted to, especially in the second half of the year here. But I feel very good about Lance and his future here at IU East.
All right, so what do you expect the spring season to be like?
Well, you always pray for good weather, and it never comes. You're always playing in rainy conditions. The rain's coming down sideways. It's windy.
Right.
You're happy with 50 degrees and stuff like that. So you never really can tell. You expect it to get a little bit better once you get closer to the summertime and once conference time rolls around. But it's just hard to really sit here and predict what's going to happen in terms of weather.
All right. Well, thank you for joining me, Franklin, and
Absolutely.
best of luck in the spring season.
Thanks a lot, man.
All right, there you have it from IU East men's golfer Franklin Chris talking about the fall season and his thoughts on the upcoming spring season. We'll be right back with more Inside IU East Sports.
I am your physician.
I am your caregiver
I am your spiritual support.
I am here to help you be independent
and achieve your optimal health.
But I am also a cancer survivor.
I am living with diabetes.
I am a chef.
And an artist.
I am your neighbor.
I am the face of Reed Health.
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 Reed Health, right beside you.
And welcome back to Inside IUE Sports. It's time to talk about men's tennis, and joining me is Connor Kramer. Thanks for joining me, Connor.
No problem.
All right, well, let's start off by talking about how you're doing individually this season.
Well, I think we've only had 6 or 7 matches, so spaced out over a couple months. So I play 1 singles and 1 doubles with my doubles partner, Keaton Akers. We're doing pretty well. We're having good chemistry, and we're improving every day. And at singles, being 1 singles, you play the best guy usually every night. So I'm getting better, but I haven't had the best fall season, but we're getting there.
So what do you prepare to go, or for, how do you prepare for those number 1 matches?
Just try to improve on everything, because the guys have a big serve or big forehand, and I just try to find their weakness and try to improve my shots to try to combat that weekness.
Right. Well, how's the team doing as a whole, in your opinion?
We have 4 freshmen, so we're a pretty young team, but we've had a fairly good fall season. We played some good teams and had some close matches against those good teams, and I think our record is like 3-3 or something like that. But we've had a good season.
All right. Well, let's talk about some of your teammates and have you briefly describe each one of them and what they have to bring to the team. Let's start with freshman Keaton Akers. He said he's your partner.
Keaton, he's my doubles partner, so I learned a lot about his game. He's got a big serve and just brings. He was semi-state runner-up in high school, so he brings that experience of big match to the team.
All right. How about sophomore Seth Gar?
Seth, he's one of the hardest workers on the team. He shows up to everything, and kid just works to improve every time. He doesn't play in a lot of the top 6 matches, but when he does get his chance, he makes the most of it, gives us 100%.
And freshman Joey Ising.
Joey's good. He's got a great backhand. He's a solid player. He's a player I don't like to play against because he's a backboard, just gets it back every time. But Joey's a solid player.
All right, another freshman, Jacob Mangrum.
Jake, he's got a big serve. He's a big hitter. He's 110% every shot. And sometimes that's good and sometimes that's bad. But when he plays against the better guys, it's fun to watch.
What about freshman Alex Shelley?
Alex is another player. He's like Joey, just solid guy, just gets everything back. He's a great addition to the team. Good boost for morale. He's a great guy.
A sophomore, Colton Shipley.
Colton, he's good. He's one of my best friends. He's been around. He's sophomore, so he's one of the, I guess you can say, upperclassmen because we don't have any juniors. But he's a solid player. He's another guy, great forehand, and just brings experience to the team.
And the other senior on the roster besides you, Ethan Talby.
Ethan, been around 4 years, great guy. He worked all summer, improved a lot. Just like with me, brings experience to the team. Just having the upperclassmen to help guide the freshmen, it's good for the team.
All right, well, let's talk about the last two matches that you were able to play, starting with the home match against the College of Mount St. Joseph's on September 21st. How did that match go?
We won 8-1. That was a good match for us. They were a solid team. The lower guys weren't the best, but the top guys it was a good, fun match to play. Myself and Keaton 1-1 doubles, I think, pretty easily. It was a close match. Not a close match. We won pretty handily. But then we gave Colton a chance to bump up to play one singles, and he was the lone loss, but he lost in a very close match to a good player.
All right, and then this past week you traveled to Wittenberg University and lost 5-4, close match there, obviously. How did that one go?
With Wittenberg, they're a good team. They're NCAA Division III, so they get a lot of good recruits. They have a lot of foreign guys, so guys that have played tennis since a very, very young age. And,
right.
For myself and most of the other guys on the team, we played since middle school or just started in high school, so they got a lot more years experience up on us. But we lost 5-4. That was a close match. Their top three guys were really good, and then from there it kind of fell off, so we were able to compete a lot better. And Ethan had a chance. It came down to his match. It was tied 4-all, so Ethan had a chance to win it. I think he lost in the third set, so it was a close match.
What are some of the things that you think that everyone needs to work on a little bit?
I'd say not losing their head. I know we have a lot of guys that expect a lot out of themselves and they want to improve every match, but when they're playing guys that are that much better than them, it's hard for them to not get angry. Especially with myself, I play a lot of guys that are way better than me, but I try to keep my head, because I know they're better than me. I'm just trying to do everything I can to improve.
All right. Anything else you'd like to add today?
No, I think we got one more match tomorrow. It's a home match, so that'll be, I think it's against Lawrence or something like that.
Yeah.
They're a good team. They're a lot like Roosevelt University we played earlier in the year, a lot of foreign guys, so it'll be a fun match.
All right. Well, thank you for joining me. There you have it from IU East men's tennis player Connor Kramer with his thoughts on this season for tennis. We'll be right back with more Inside IU East Sports. And welcome back to Inside IU East Sports. That sound you just heard means that it is time for Wolf Center. Wolf Center is where we take a look back at last week's IU East results and ahead to next week's schedule. You can download the Wolf House sound you just heard for free by downloading the free IU East Athletics app at the iTunes App Store or at Google Play. Now taking a look back at last week's IU East results on October 6th, the men's tennis team lost to Wittenberg 5-4. Alex Shelley won at number 4 singles and at number 2 doubles. Women's tennis also fell to Wittenberg on October 6th with a score of 8-1. Rebecca Lockhart won at number 6 singles. On October 6th, the volleyball team fell to Marion 3-2. Sydney Durham had 9 kills with 2 blocks and a .368 hitting average. On October 9th, the women's tennis team defeated Defiance 6-3. Sarah Lockhart won at number 5 singles and at number 3 doubles. On October 10th, the volleyball team picked up a 3-0 conference win over Midway. Morgan Steinbrenner had 8 kills, 3 blocks, and a .700 hitting average. The volleyball team also swept St. Francis 3-0 on October 10th. Freshman Abby Ketchum had 5 kills, 31 assists, and 10 digs. On October 10th, the men's golf team placed 8th at the Mount Vernon Nazarene University Invite. Lance Ackman placed 30th with a team best 78 in the final round. On October 17th, the IU East volleyball team will open a home KIAC tri-match against Brescia at 10 o'clock a.m. IU East is 9-0 all-time against the Bearcats. The volleyball team's second match of the day will be at 2 p.m. against West Virginia Tech. This is the first match between the two teams. Be sure to watch both games live at IUERedwolves.com. On October 17th, women's tennis will be at Asbury in Wilmore, Kentucky. Match time is 12 p.m. On October 18th, women's tennis will be at Alice Lloyd beginning at 1 o'clock p.m. On October 20th, the volleyball team will host their pink-out match against the Asbury Eagles. First serve is at 6 p.m. You can watch the game live at IUERedwolves.com. On October 23rd, the women's tennis team will play in the KIAC tournament quarterfinals. IU East will either be the number 3, number 4, or number 5 seed. The volleyball team will take on Indiana Tech at 2 p.m. on October 23rd in Fort Wayne. And lastly, the volleyball team will play the University of the Cumberlands on October 23rd at the Indiana Tech Invite. First serve is at 4:15 p.m. and both matches can be watched live at IUERedwolves.com. That concludes this week's episode of Inside IUE Sports. I'm your host, Caleb Gillock. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.